On the right hand side, this is the SLR1 parsing table. This is not the one we wanted to prepare. It's from the book. So we'll just stick to the table which is created in the book for today's discussion. And on the left hand side, you can see that the rules of the grammar are given. I have not marked the first rule, but the remaining 6 rules are marked from 1 to 6. In the parsing table, anywhere you see the action or something, that means we have to use that rule number, our rule number like R2. That means we have to use rule number 2 to do the reduction. That's what it means. So rule number 2 means it will be E producing T. So we'll be reducing T by an E. As you know, we are doing the bottom-up parser style. So we have to reduce the right-hand side into the left-hand side. Similarly, if you have somewhere R3, that means we have to reduce the whole thing T star F into T using that rule. That is the rule we have to apply. What do we mean by reduction and what do we mean by shift will be very obvious as we go forward with today's discussion. That is how the bottom-up parser is using the stack to create the parse tree. Okay, so this would be our discussion today. So we'll have a stack here like this. So this is our stack. Since it is not a right recursive grammar, we are not expecting the stack to grow to a very high level. So these many entries are sufficient. In the next page, we will be creating the parse tree. The parse tree is basically this one, ID, star ID, plus ID. So we'll try to parse this string, which is a valid string of the given grammar, and we'll try to construct the parse tree in a bottom-up manner using the LR parsing technique, and we'll see how the stack is used. Of course, we'll be consulting this SLR parsing table right here. This one will be used. Okay, so before we start, I'll be recording this session so that you can take a look at it later. I don't have materials prepared for this particular place because it is difficult to prepare, and somehow I haven't done it either for various reasons. Okay, so recording has started. So first thing what we'll do is we'll keep the starting state, which is 0, onto the stack. We'll start from here. And as you know, our input is this string, ID, star ID plus ID. So we need to parse this string. Okay. Now, let us look into the parsing table and So first we start with state 0 and our input is ID. This is the terminal we have. Okay, this is input. So let us look into the parsing table. As you can see, if you are in state 0 and your input is ID, the action is, what is the action? Yes? Please tell me, what is the action from the parsing table? Okay, let me make it a little larger. What is the action corresponding to state 0 and if you have an input terminal as ID? What is the action? Pardon?
State 5, according to the table.
Correct. According to the table, it is not state 5, it is S5. S5 means shift to state 5. Okay. Shift to state 5, not state 5 only. Okay. So that means we have to somehow shift and then go to the state 5. Now, here what it means is that shifting means what are you going to shift? Shift basically the input. So you are looking at ID, so you have to shift that thing. Shift means pushing onto the stack top. So ID will be pushed here. And we'll erase this ID from here, from the input. So we'll erase the input ID. So we are left with star ID plus ID because the first ID is now on the stack. Also, shifting action has another part. Not only you are shifting the input symbol onto the stack, but you are moving to a different state, that is state 5. So what you will do is push that state number here. So this is exactly what is meant by the action S5 when you are at state 0 and your input is ID from the SLR1 parsing table. Okay. So now this is the first move, and we are not doing anything with the parse tree as of now because there is no reduction action. Parse tree will be constructed only when a reduction action is called. So next is okay. So next is we have 5 at stack top. That is, we are in state 5 now. And then our input is, what is the input? What is the input? Yes, what is the input? Input is a star. So at state 5, we are getting an input terminal symbol, which is star. So let's consult the parsing table. State 5, action star. This is a reduction action. Reduction by which rule? Reduction by which rule? Yes? Reduction by rule number?
6.
Rule number 6. So what is rule number 6? Rule number 6, as you can see, F produces ID is the rule. So we have to reduce ID with F. Now let's see what that means. Okay. So that means whenever there is a reduction action, we are not going to move the input pointer. So it will still remain at star. We are not changing it. And that is first thing. Second thing is, we have to, instead of pushing, we have to pop symbols from the stack because we are doing the reduction action. Okay. So how many symbols are we going to pop from the stack? That depends on how many symbols are there on the right hand side of this production rule. So you can see on the right hand side of the production rule number 6, we have only one terminal. So if you have n, it could be terminal, it could be non-terminal as well. So if you have n such symbols on the right hand side, you have to pop 2n symbols, 2 star n's. That means twice the number of symbols which appear on that production rule on the right hand side of that production rule. You have to pop twice that number from the stack. The reason is, as you can readily understand, for each symbol you have pushed onto the stack, you are actually creating 2 entries. First, the elements from the right hand side of the production rule, and you are moving into a different state as well. So when you reduce by a rule where the right hand side contains n symbol, you must make sure you are popping 2n symbols from the stack. Okay. So how many symbols here we have to pop? Since the rule is f producing id, there is only one symbol on the right hand side of the production rule. We have to pop 2 symbols from the stack. So we have to pop 5. We have to pop id as well. And the reduction rule is f producing id. So we have an f coming now. But then, what is the state we should move now? We have 0 and f is coming now as if in the input. So we have to push f, but before that, we have to make sure we move to the right state. What is that? So we are in state 0. We have a f. So we should move to state number 3. Is this thing clear? This should be clear. Yes. Right. The reason is, whenever you are pushing a symbol on the stack, each time you push a symbol onto the stack, you actually attach a state with it. So that means not only the symbol is pushed to the stack, the corresponding state that symbol is supposed to be in is also pushed. So every symbol has an attached state. That's why you have 2 symbols per two symbols on the stack per symbol in the input. Okay, that's what it means. All right. So do you understand why we are in state 3 now? We cannot move to any other state because we were in state 0. State 0 was exposed. F came in, and 0 and F combination should take us to state number 3. State 3. Okay. Note that input pointer is not moved. It is still sitting under star. But since this was a reduction action, we have to handle the parts tree. So this is the first move in the parts tree. Okay. Let's put a number against it. This is first step 1. All right. Very good. Next, we go to the stack again. So we have 3 as input state, 3 as the stack top state, and star is the input. So 3 and star, what does it call for? 3 and star, what is it calling? Right here, it is R4. R4 is T producing F. Okay. So right hand side contains one symbol. That means I have to pop 2 from the stack. And the reduction rule is, as you can tell, it is T producing F. This is the rule. This is the reduction rule. So we have to push a T here. And again, which state should we move? This is a 0 and 2 combination, 0 and T. So we are at state 2. That should be pushed onto the stack. Am I clear? Okay, I'm coming to that. Just a second. Yes, very good point. The pointer is still in star because still we haven't consumed the symbol. We are still applying the reduction rule, not shift rule. Fine? Okay. Now, the next thing is we have state 2 and we have a star. So let's see what is in there. So state 2 and star, as you can see, it calls for S7. S7 means shift and then move to state 7. So shift means what? Shift means we have to remove the pointer. We have to bring the star here. We have to remove it from the input. And then the input pointer would be now pointing to this ID. And we should move to state 7. State 7. So 0T to star 7. This is star, not T. And this is 7. Very good. So this move is done. Now we have 7 and ID. 7 and ID. At state 7, we have ID. So you can see we have to shift to state, shift and then go to state 5. So shift means I'll put ID here. ID here. I'll put a 5 here. And then remove this. And then I should put a pointer, input pointer should be right here. Am I clear? Okay. So I am now in step 5. State 5 at the stack top is state 5. Then I have a plus as the input. So at state 5, if plus comes, let's see what happens. What is it happening? As you can see, R6. So R6 is again a producing ID. So this is a producing ID. This is the reduction we have to make. So input pointer still under plus. We have to pop 2 symbols from the stack top. Both 5 and ID are removed. And we have to push an F here. And 7 and F. What is 7 and F? State 7 F is 10. So a 10 should come here. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. So a 10, a 10 should come here. Okay. Of course, we have to do this as well because it is a reduction action. Oh, I forgot this action. This is step 2. We have already done it. Second reduction. This is the third reduction. This is the third branch which is created in the parts tree. Okay, fine. Now we are at state 10 and we have a plus. State 10 plus R3. As you can see, this is R3. R3 is T producing T star F. So our rule is T producing T star F. This is the reduction rule I have. How many symbols on the right hand side? How many symbols on the right hand side? No, 3. T star 3. 3 are there. 3 are there. So how many symbols you have to pop from the stack? 2 into 3, that is 6 symbols. So this one is gone. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. These many symbols are gone and we have to insert a T here. Right? And then 0 and T. 0 and T is 2. So we'll push a 2 at the top. Is that fine? Is that fine? And of course, we have to make necessary changes in the parts tree. So T star F now becomes a T. And this is reduction number 4. This is the fourth branch which is created. This node is created as fourth element in the parts tree. Okay. So we have 2 and we have we have a plus. So 2 and plus. 2 and plus means what? 2 and plus means R2. R2. R2 is E producing T. So the reduction is E producing T. This is the rule. Okay. So that means we have to pop 2 symbols from the stack. So we pop 2 symbols. We pushed E. And 0 and E. 0 and E is which? 0 and E is 1. So we push a 1 here. Go to the parts tree construction. So here we have E. This is created as step number 5. Okay. Very good. Done. Next is 1 and plus. 1 and plus is what? 1 and plus is S6. 1 and plus is X6. That means we'll shift plus and go to state 6. Go to state 6. Okay? Very good. Input pointer is changed. So plus is no longer there in the input. I forgot to do one thing here. I'll come to that. Okay. So plus is gone. Always remember there is a dollar at the end in all our discussions to complete the parsing process. This will signify that this is end of mark. So now input pointer is now at ID, the last ID, and there is a dollar at the end. So 01 plus 01 0E1 plus 6 is the stack configuration. ID is the input and next symbol is going to be dollar, which we are not considering right now. Okay. So now 6 and ID. What is 6 and ID? At state 6, ID is S5. So S5 is the action. That means you have to remove ID from the input, put it onto the stack top, and move to state 5. So dollar is the input, and we have the input pointer in front of dollar, in under dollar. So stack top is 5, and dollar is the input. So state 5, we have a dollar, we have R6. R6 means A producing ID. So our rule is A producing ID, that is the reduction rule. So you have to pop two symbols from the stack top. So 5 gone, ID gone. We'll push F, and F and dollar. I'm sorry, 6 and F. So at state 6, if we have F, we should go to state 3. So 3 is pushed here. So we have state 3 on the stack top, and we have dollar. So 3 and dollar is R4, reduced by rule 4. What is rule 4? T producing F. I forgot one thing here. This is also there. So this is already done at step 6. Okay. Next is also a reduction. This is reduction by the fourth rule, which is E producing T. Okay, again we pop two symbols. We pop 3, we pop, I'm sorry. The rule was actually T producing F. So we popped F, and instead we put T here, and 6 and T. 6 and T is state 3. 6 and T is state 9. Sorry, state 9. So we should put a 9 here. Am I clear up to here? Is it very clear?
Okay, sir.
Okay. So now 9 is on the stack top, and we have a dollar. 9 state number 9, and dollar means you have to reduce by rule 1. What is rule 1? E producing E star T. So this is the reduction rule. E producing E plus T. How many symbols on the right hand side? 3 symbols. So we have to pop 6 symbols from the stack. 9 is gone, T is gone, 6 is gone. This is also gone. So now we'll just push E. And what is 0 and E? 0 and E is state 1. So 1 is pushed here. Note that we haven't yet shifted the input pointer because all these actions are reduction actions. And all these rules should be reflected in the parse tree as well. So here we have this rule. And then this rule. So this was 7th step for reduction. And this was the 8th step for, I'm sorry. So this is the 8th step in the reduction process. Okay, so E producing E plus T. So this is the 8th reduction rule. Now, what do we have? E1 and dollar. So 1 and dollar. 1 and dollar, you can see 1 and dollar, there is no reduction because that is basically reduction by the first rule, which is the augmented rule. We don't have a number for that rule. You can assume it is R0 or accept. So that means the moment we have 1 and dollar, we basically accept it. Okay, that's it. So we have our parse tree constructed as well. Just give me a second. So you can see how we use the stack and the SLR1 parsing table to parse a given input string and create the parse tree. I think all of you could follow it. Am I clear about what I have said till now? Okay. So that's about it for LR0 or SLR1 parsing table. Now we'll go to some new topics, which is actually associated topics, which is just a second. So we'll come to this topic, which is advantage of LR parsers. I promise to come back after we have done the LR parsing and knew a little bit about the technique. As you can see, LR parsers can be constructed to recognize virtually all programming language constructs for which context-free grammars can be written. And please note that most of the programming languages have corresponding context-free grammars, but for a few exceptions. Okay. The LR parsing method is the most general non-backtracking shift-reduce parsing method known. Okay, as you can see, it is non-backtracking and it is a shift-reduce type of parsing, but it can be implemented very efficiently, at least as efficiently as other shift-reduce methods. The class of grammars that can be parsed using LR methods is a proper superset of the class of grammars that can be parsed with predictive parsers. I can explain it in more detail. Unfortunately, I don't want to spend another half an hour or an hour explaining this. Maybe if we have some spare classes at the end, I'll show you why this is exactly the case. The fourth is an LR parser can detect a syntactic error as soon as it is possible to do so on a left to right scan of the input. The reason is you can always get a viable prefix on the stack top. So the moment you don't get a viable prefix, you immediately catch the error. Okay, so you don't have to parse the whole string. Just by looking at the prefix, you can say that whether you are part of a sentential form or not. So if you are not part of a sentential form, you can immediately throw the error. Am I clear? Okay, so these are some of the advantages of LR parsers over other parsing methods. Now, saying those, yeah, প্রণয় বলো।
স্যার হ্যাঁ স্যার বলছি অ্যাকচুয়ালি আমার পাওয়ার ছিল না স্যার, এই মাত্র
That's fine.
পাওয়ার এলো তো
আমি তোমায় পুরো অ্যাটেন্ডেন্স দিয়ে দেবো, নট এ প্রবলেম, ঠিক আছে। ওকে, নাও we'll move to a different topic altogether right now, where you will see that SLR1 parsing method fails. I'm not going to go into the details of why it is failing. Again, that will require quite some time to explain, but we'll just show a case of failure just to convince you that SLR1 is or LR0 is not sufficient. Okay, so we need something more powerful than that. And for that, what I want you to do is I'll give you a grammar and I'll ask you to do two things. Okay, let me give you the grammar first. This is also from the book, so you can always take a look at that. So rule number 1, S producing L equal to R. L and R are non-terminals. Equal to is a terminal symbol. S producing R. This is the second rule. The third rule is L producing star R. The fourth rule is L producing IB. Fifth rule is R producing L. Now, of course, you have an augmented rule, which I have not shown here. It is basically S prime producing S. So you have 5 rules and an augmented rule. Now, I give you 2 tasks. Please note this carefully. One is compute follow R. And second thing you do is construct I0 I think by now you understand what is meant by I0. And construct I0 and go to I0, comma L, which is say state I2. So these are the two tasks I give right now for you to do. Please do this and let me know the results. Then it will be easier to explain. So you have to do, so I have given you the grammar on the left hand side. Now what I suggest is, first you compute follow R, at least, yeah, compute follow R and construct I0. So that means S prime producing dot S. Okay, I can give one, I'll give one element in I0, which is S prime producing dot S. Okay, now create whole of I0 and you create I2. What is in I2? And what is I2? I2 is nothing but something like this is I0 and something like this is I2, and you just create I0 to I2, which is nothing but I0, comma L. I0, comma L. So please compute this. In the meantime, I'll take a small break, and I'll be taking your attendance as well. And after that, I'll be discussing why these computations and construction will lead us to a conflict in SLR1 parsing table. And then we'll talk about the more powerful set of grammar, which is LR1 grammar or LR1 parsers. Sorry, powerful set of some parsers, which is known as LR1 parsers. We'll be talking about that a little bit. Okay, that's about it. So please do this. In 5-10 minutes, I'll be following up on this. So I'll be stopping the recording right now. I think all of you can see the two items which you need to do. Please do this, and then I'll be coming back and get input from you so that we can complete the discussion on why SLR1 is not sufficient. Okay, let me take a break for 5-10 minutes and I'll be right back with you. Okay, I have come back. So have you done this? Have you computed follow R? Any of you? If you have computed follow R, please let me know. What is there in follow R? Yes, please. Follow R. What is in follow R? What is in follower? Please let me know. If you have done this follower from this grammar. Okay, I leave it as an exercise to you. But what I wanted to show you is something very interesting. As you can see, there is a rule right here, which is R producing. Okay, I'm sorry, which is so you can see this rule, aid producing star R. So I have already told you, if we have such a rule, then whatever is in follow L should be in follow of R. Now you can see this equal to symbol is in follow of L, because L is followed by an equal to symbol. So follow of R in particular should have the equal to symbol. Of course, it will have others. Now here you can see that this particular state I0 has S prime producing dot S. The next item would be S prime producing dot L equal to R. Then S producing dot R. Then L producing dot star R. L producing dot ID, and R producing dot L. Okay, so these are some of the items in I0. Fine. So you can see in particular, there is an item S producing dot L equal to R right here, and R producing dot L. So when I say I0 comma L will have in particular S producing L dot equal to R and R producing L dot. So you can see these two items are there in I2, which is I0 comma L. Now if you construct the SLR parsing table, if you construct the SLR parsing table right here, so in particular, you will have this terminal symbol, which is equal to, and in state 2, for the terminal symbol, what would be the action? That is the question. Now you can see in state 2, that is I2, for equal to symbol, you can easily go to a different state, say I6, which is I6. I6 should have S producing L equal to dot R. And this is nothing but go to I0, sorry, go to I2, comma equal to. So I2 comma equal to is I6. So we can say that for symbol equal to in state 2, you can have this action S6. Okay, this is because of this item S producing L dot equal to R. So I2 comma equal to will take you to I6, and this is a legitimate action. But at the same time, you can see that there is a dot at the end of one of the items, R producing L dot. That means for all the symbols in follow of R, you should have the corresponding reduction rule. This reduction rule, R producing L, is rule number 5. So for equal to, which is in follow of R, you should have R5 as well. Now you can see we have two items or two actions for the same state and terminal combination. This is a conflict, and this is known as shift reduce conflict. Similarly, you can have reduce conflict as well. So you can see that this SLR1 parsing table is not going to be okay for parsing action because we have conflicts. You have seen in Bison, in some cases you are getting this kind of conflicts because of this reason. The grammar is such that we cannot do much. So of course you can do a left factoring to solve this problem, and then of course it will work. We have already seen that in Bison classes. But if you cannot do that, if you don't have opportunity for doing that, then you have to live with this. So in that case, instead of rewriting the grammar, what you can do is include the lookahead symbol in the item itself. Till now, we have seen our items are something like this. Like if we have a rule like this, A producing alpha beta, then the corresponding item is A producing dot alpha beta. Or if you have a go-to, then you can have an item like this, A producing alpha dot beta. Okay, these are all items we have seen so far. These are all items of LR0 grammar, LR0 or SLR1. So if you have LR0 parser, these are the type of items. Instead of this, if we choose to include a lookahead symbol, appropriate lookahead symbol in the item itself, then that becomes LR1. It looks like this, like you can have something like this, A producing alpha dot beta and say a terminal symbol. Now, how this terminal symbol is coming, that we'll discuss right now. Okay. So, next is, let us define what is meant by an LR1 item, or sometimes it is known as CLR as well. CLR or canonical LR. Canonical LR or LR1 basically refers to the same thing. So SLR and CLR are two different things. Now, let us define the item which is LR1. How can we create an LR1 item from a given rule, grammatical rule, and we'll see some other things we'll be requiring. So basically in an LR1 item, there are two things. One is the LR0 item we have already seen. The other one is basically the look ahead item. That A is basically the look ahead item. This is the second part. You can have K symbols there, then it will be LRK grammar. So let us look into the rules for creating the set of items. So you have a rule A producing alpha dot B and then a beta. So alpha dot B beta comma A is an item in LR. Assume. Then if you have and you have a rule B producing some gamma, I don't know what it is. Could be one non-terminal, could be one terminal, could be a combination of many terminals and non-terminals, etc. Okay. So B produces gamma. So when you do the closure, of course, you will have this item B producing dot gamma, that will be the LR0 item, and you need to find the lookahead symbol. What is the lookahead symbol? Now, note that what can logically follow B here. Okay. So if you have a production, then what are you going to expect? You will have something like this. A producing alpha, E, beta. Okay. And then the next step would be, say, alpha, if it is a, so it could be alpha B and some A and beta prime. What is A and beta prime? This A is nothing but, so what beta can be is that you can, okay, let me do this way, that will be even better. Okay. So you have a rule A producing alpha B beta. Now suppose beta produces, now okay, now in some situation you will have this kind of thing, alpha, gamma, beta. Okay. In fact, let's make it even better, that if this is the substring we are expecting, alpha B beta followed by an A, we can easily put an A at the end. So we can actually expect something like this. A is somewhere. So this is what we are expecting. Alpha B beta A, alpha gamma beta A. Okay. So that means this beta A is vital. This beta A will give me what can logically follow gamma. Okay. Now it might be that so there are two possibilities, that beta turns into an epsilon in some steps. Then what you get is you get alpha gamma A. So that means if you have a rule alpha dot, if you have an item A producing alpha dot B beta, where beta produces an epsilon, then for the item beta produces dot gamma, your lookahead item is going to be nothing but A. Else, it would be what is first of beta A. Basically, you are always going to get first of beta if this is the case. and if this is not. So that means anyway, B produces dot gamma, comma, first beta comma A is the look ahead item. So if beta produces epsilon, it would be A. If beta does not produce epsilon, it would be first of beta A. All right? So if this is the case, then we can easily construct the set of items for a grammar where I want to construct, or we want to construct the the CLR1 parsing table or canonical parsing table. So let me declare such a grammar here. So we have rules S prime producing S. Then rule number 1 is S producing capital C, capital C. Then I have rule number 2, which is C producing small c, capital C. And we have a third rule, which is C producing small d. Now we want to construct the LR1 set of items for this grammar. Okay, we have around 15 minutes left. So let us try as much as we can do today. The remaining items I'll be copying from the book in tomorrow's class, and then we'll be discussing how to construct the LR1 parsing table. Okay, and we'll see how things go. Okay, so what I want to do is create I0. So what is I0? I0, as you can readily understand, these are basically these items. Control C, okay. So we have these things. S prime producing dot S. Initially we start with dollar. So this is the starting item. S prime producing dot S, comma dollar. Then we'll close this. So S producing dot CC. This is the first LR1 item. After the first item. Now, can you tell me what would be the look ahead symbol here? Yes? So just the analogy is here. So if A producing alpha dot B beta comma A and B produces dot gamma, then first of beta A should be the look ahead item. So here, what is alpha? Let me copy this rule. Okay, let me copy this rule. This is the rule. B producing dot gamma and first beta A. And this is the first rule. We have these two rules. A producing alpha dot B beta comma A, and then we have B producing dot gamma first comma first beta A. So first item, as I said, S prime producing dot S comma dollar. So A is dollar and dot S is B and beta is nothing. Beta is epsilon. So if you close on it, it becomes S producing dot CC. That is the rule. That means gamma is nothing but 2cc. First of beta A. What is beta? Beta is epsilon. So first of beta A is nothing but dollar. Then the next rule is posing on C. Capital C produces small c, capital C. What is the lookahead symbol? Now here you can see your alpha is epsilon, B is capital C, and beta is also capital C. A is dollar. So the closed item is capital C producing dot small c capital C, comma, first of beta A. A is dollar. What is beta here? Beta here is capital C. So first of C dollar. What is first of C? First of C can be small c or capital small d. So like this. These are actually two items combined together. So the lookahead items are different than dollar. And next, for capital C producing dot D, again you have these things. C is capital C or D. Okay, so this is your I0. This is right here, your I0. Fine? Okay. Now, let us compute I1, which is I0, comma S. So I0, comma S. What is in there? Just one item, which is I1 is S prime producing S dot, comma, dollar. This is your I1. Okay. Then you should have I2, which is I0, comma, capital C. I0, comma, capital C. What is in there? That is I2. So here we have S producing capital C dot C, comma, dollar. That is, of course, going to be coming from I0 set of item. Now we have to close on C. So C produces two items, dot C, capital C, comma something, and dot D, comma something. Now again, you can see from the rule S producing capital C dot capital C, comma, dollar. If you compare it with A producing alpha dot B beta, here alpha is capital C, B is capital C, and beta is epsilon. A is dollar. So C producing small c, capital C, there is a dot before that, and first of beta is epsilon, so it becomes A is nothing but dollar. So this is the item. Similarly for C producing dot D, that is also going to produce the same look ahead item. So this is your I2. What is I3? I3 is I0, comma, small c. So I0, comma, small c is I3. Now, what is I3 in that case? I3 is C, capital C producing small c dot capital C, comma C, comma D. There is nothing wrong here, but we have to close on capital C, which is small c capital C, comma something, and C producing dot D, comma something. Now the question is, what would be the look ahead symbol? So this is I3. Okay. Here you can readily understand C, comma D, small c, comma small d would be the look ahead items. These are just going to be inherited from I2. So this is your I3. Now let us do I4. I4 is very simple. Just on D you are doing. So here you have C producing D dot, comma C slash D. So this is the only state here, only item in I4. Okay. I have 5 more minutes. So next, I'll be constructing I5. I5 is, so I0 is taken care of. I1 has no more item left. So from I2, I can go to, on capital C, I can go to I5. S producing capital C dot, and of course there is a dollar there. That's it. There is nothing in I5, nothing more in I5. So this is your I5, which is I2, comma capital C. Then we have I6. I6 is I2, comma small c. I2, comma small c. Okay. So this is interesting. You will see I6. So you have C producing small c dot capital C. This is coming, and then you have to close on capital C. Now, what is the look ahead item? Look ahead item for the second item. So capital C producing small c capital C. This is the item. So if you look at the earlier item, here alpha is small c, B is capital C, and beta is epsilon. So when you create the item B producing dot gamma, first beta A, what is first beta A? Beta is epsilon, A is dollar. So first beta A is nothing but dollar. Similarly for the last item. So you can see the only difference between I2 and I6, I'm sorry, the only difference, yeah. Okay, so you can see I6 and you can see I3. I6 and I3, they have the first set of item, the first, if you don't consider the look ahead item, they're exactly the same. Capital C producing small c dot capital C, capital C producing dot small c capital C, and capital C producing dot D. But they differ in the look ahead item. In I3, the look ahead items are small c, comma small d. In I6, the look ahead item is So had it been an LR0 or SLR1 grammar, SLR1 parser, I3 and I6 will be combined. But in case of LR1, because the look ahead item is different, we have two different states. This is what I wanted to emphasize. Because of this distinction, in LR1, you will see an exponential increase in number of states compared to LR0. But because of this distinction, the problem I just mentioned a few minutes back, that SLR1 parser was not able to, there was shift reduce conflict in SLR1 parser table, that kind of problems may be eliminated using additional look ahead symbol in item set. If there is still shift reduce conflict, you can use, instead of one look ahead symbol, you can use two look ahead symbols, and that way it goes, it continues. But please remember, if you have an ambiguous grammar, no matter how many look ahead symbols you use in your item, that means not for any k, for any k, LRK parser will always have some kind of a shift reduced conflict for ambiguous grammars. But if the grammar is unambiguous, but has, say, conflict in LRK parsing table, just by adding another look ahead item, you might be able to eliminate that conflict. So LRK plus 1 parser may be having a conflict free parsing table. Please note this. I have constructed here till I6. There are still, I think, 4 more states, or 3 more states rather. So those things will be just copying from the book on tomorrow's class, and then we'll be creating the LR1 parsing table, and that's it. We'll be done with the parsers. And immediately after that, we'll be starting on the next topic, which is runtime environment. That is very much part of your syllabus in internal. That's about it, folks. I have nothing today.